back. NBA basketball is back. Hornets, Knicks, Uptown Charlotte. Sounded like Madison Square Garden South at times, but we can get to that later. Doug, we watched the Hornets play a basketball game this afternoon in the midst of the 4 o'clock football games. I got to tell you, man, it felt real. It felt fun. I got a little juice being back in there.
Well, listen, I mean, I think you're feeling the juice from Charles Lee. I mean, he looked intense
He
on the
wanted that
sideline.
W. He wanted that
He
W.
he did. I mean, even with the deep reserves there in the game. I mean, look, the real game ended in the first half. 61-61 tie. LaMelo Ball 10 points, Brandon Miller 10 points. Lots of guys looking locked in. The deep reserves get in there at the final part of the game and claw themselves back in a game that they had gotten themselves down. And yeah, you had Lee on the sideline, like, in the squat position, coaching his bleep off. And, he was happy. I did get to catch a little bit of his press conference after the game. He
Good.
said, I thought we took another step tonight. He was excited. He was smiling. Like, as he was being asked the question, he was like, yeah, let's go. Even though they lost the game,
Yeah.
so yeah, I mean, it was definitely exciting to watch the Hornets, a new version of the Hornets. That's the thing. A lot of similar players from previous seasons, but something felt different, and I hope we keep that feeling.
Yeah, so I wanted to kind of run through some of the major points that I took away or what I was looking for
Yeah.
in this game, and you just jump in if you got other thoughts. But right off the bat, for me, Lamella Ball and Brandon Miller looked ready to go. Their shots were falling early. I'm not sure that we saw like the next step, in their evolution tonight. It's game one of the preseason. They've only had what, like 4 or 5 days of camp and stuff. So,
Yeah.
I'm not looking for like the explosive jump, but like Brandon Miller was shooting out of the gate. He looked like he was picked up right where he left off. Lamelo was taking it to the basket, and his shot was falling too. If I had one thing to say about Lamelo, I would say unafraid. Look like the Lamelo we know and love. Look like the Lamelo of old. We did get an early highlight package of the ankle braces, and they are under the socks, Doug. We will not be able to see those for the
Well, you have
duration.
listen. You have to live on faith on this one. They mentioned that they're like, look, you can't see them. You just that
If he's
they are like God. You just have to
it's
believe.
yes,
We can't see,
if
them.
he says he's wearing them, he's wearing them. But I think the main thing with those two is we saw Brandon Miller bring the ball up early on a couple times in that first quarter. Didn't see a lot of that last year, especially when Lamelo was out there. So we saw a little more Lamelo off the ball.
Yeah, no, you did see that when Lamelo was hurt and Brandon had a
Right.
lot more responsibility when it was really just him and Miles Bridges. But yeah, you saw Lamelo playing off ball, and then you saw a lot of lineups that Lee was throwing out there with essentially like 3 point guards. I mean,
Oh yeah.
There was some Vasa, Melo, Man lineups, and boy, Trey Man. I mean, I
Oh,
don't know
we'll
what he
get to
finished
him.
with. I think he finished with like 15 points, but like he was
Finished
all
number
over
one
the
in my
place.
heart. I'll tell you that much.
Defensively, yeah, look, he was looking good too. I mean, the baggy shorts, the
We're,
baggy jersey,
we
everyone
need to
was
talk about that.
noticing like he looked like early 2000s
Love it.
Allen Iverson
Love
out
it.
there, had the headband going, got rid of the fro, went back to the rose, and was just he was looking good, but not just the look. The game looked great too. I mean, he's obviously look. Nick Smith Jr. was injured for this game. Cody Martin was injured for this game. Nick Smith Jr. a late scratch with a groin injury. Seems minor, but it's going to keep him. It kept him out of this preseason game. And man looked like somebody that said, "All right, this is my opportunity to stake my ground here and say, I not only want to be part of this rotation, I want to be the sixth man, sixth
Yeah.
man of the year."
Well, it's funny you say that because he and Mitic were out there quite a bit together, running that two-man game with that small backcourt. And man was all over the place. I'm talking doing his best, like Harold Miner, Baby Jordan imitation, taking it to the hoop with clutching some clutch layups and hitting from the outside. And as you mentioned, man, leader in the clubhouse for coolest looking Hornet, like maybe of all time. Certainly one of the cooler players looking in the NBA. I can't wait for some of the opposing teams to get a peek at this guy. He's bringing Baggy back. He's got the baggier shorts, the jersey. Think Kobe Bryant era bagginess on that thing. I really hope this is a trend back to the baggy phase, and if it is, I will credit him as he will be due.
I hope it spreads like a virus. I
Oh
hope
god.
it becomes I don't know if you remember in the early aughts, those final Hornets teams that when they were trying to get together, and there's been a lot of talk on this team about togetherness, they would wear the white headbands and everybody would
Of
wear
course.
them.
Of course.
And didn't they all shave their head at one point? Like there was some
In a playoff
extreme
run, yes. Yes, they made Matt Geiger shave it. No, no, they made,
well,
someone
I mean, Mash had
yeah,
hair at
everyone
one point.
shaved their head, but some were less fortunate than others when it came to shaving the head.
Yeah, I think Geiger started the revolution there. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think he came in, although he
Yep.
did, was sporting some hair early in his career.
Yep.
Okay, enough Geiger talk. Although I could do that all
Trey
day.
Iverson. I hear you, Bluebird. Trey
But
Iverson.
I hope it spreads like a virus. I hope if this team is 10 games above 500 and man is in line for six man of the year, that you just see one Hornet after another adopting, like, give me the baggier look, and everybody's baggy. I want it. I want it so bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, he looked great. The aggressiveness on his drive stood out for me. Like he was looking to get contact and he had the ability to kind of double clutch and make it happen. And yeah, I loved everything from Trey Man. He was jumping passing lanes. He was active
Yeah,
everywhere.
yeah. But also Meaches, for his part, man, he looks like he had played all summer in the Olympics and won a bronze medal because he looked confident. He got into the lane a couple of times and hit that little jump shot in there, went off glass, old school. I love it, and made things easier for other people. Which, as a true point guard, which he is not sped up. He's not going to outquick many people, but he's able to get into the lane, kind of use his body and had a couple nice drop offs, an easy dunk for old man Taj Gibson in there, who got some early minutes too. But Meach
We
just
can
looked
talk
good.
about Taj. I got some things on Taj. We can
Yeah,
talk about Taj if you want to do a little Taji talk.
hit Taj.
Oh, I mean, so he got an offensive rebound
Yep,
putback, and
yep.
I wrote in my notes here, it's so beautiful to see the Hornets sustain one single injury to the center position and be able to play someone who isn't one breath away from playing in Lithuania. I mean, this is what we've been talking about, folks, for a couple of years now. How do you let your center position, if you were serious about competing like they said they were for the past couple of seasons, how could you let Nathan Mensah find the floor for you in serious minutes? It was absurd, and it was always absurd. And then you get Taj Gibson here who is 39 years old, but he's got minutes left to play. And, he's not going to be an impact player, night in and night out, but it's somebody that can come in and do a little bit of what he did tonight when you have an injury to one of your main center guys. And so, yeah, it was great to see. And he's going to be leadership culture guy.
Oh
I
yeah,
mean, they talked about him. Tibbs has brought him on to every single team that he's been a part of, and there's a
right.
reason for that. And so Taj is going to be great for this team.
Yeah, and hit some jumpers. I think his first one looked like one of my dead leg jumpers when you haven't played basketball in like 2 months and you go out there and
Hmm.
try and do it. But I mean, he got in the flow pretty quickly, and like I really think we might see him, come off the bench, especially if Mark Williams is out for any extended period of time, which he obviously did not play tonight. But like, if we thought that, we'll see. But I think Taj is, he's going to be able to be called upon in the regular season at times for some minutes and they may have to use him. We'll see. But I was pleasantly surprised how that looked. Um, Miles Bridges is the bounce is back. It's officially back, Doug. We were questioning it, but at one point in this game, he took to the lane and tomahawked it. And I don't think he switched hands, but my goodness, that we did not see that spring explosion last year at all. And the other thing for me on Miles was clearly comfortable being the third guy out there for me. Wasn't forcing many things at all. Was letting Lamelo and Brandon really get space and those cross court passes that both of them can throw to Miles and to each other. I thought were pretty big, and that's going to be such a big piece if he can be efficient, right, when they call on him, because I think he's fine when he has to be the third fiddle behind those two younger guys if they're going to lean on them for all the scoring.
Well, he doesn't have to do as much playmaking, and, he
Yeah,
had the one bad pass turnover in this game. He didn't have to extend himself beyond his abilities, and so, he had 10 points, 6 rebounds. You want him focusing on the rebounding game too to, help make up for some deficiencies that you've got with your center position in terms of physical rebounding. So he did that, and that's what you want to see him do every night. So yeah, 10.6 rebounds, 2 assists in this game, 4 of 9 from the field. I don't think he did make 2 of 5 from three. So again, that's
Yeah.
40%. That's great. Like if he, keep going for a season like that, and you've got something special there. Two fast break points as well, and then on the dunk, yeah, it was off a cut, which he
Mhm.
did. He did manage a couple of those last season. So it's like, can he do that a lot more? The question that's still unanswered, and we might get an answer to that in the rest of this preseason is does he have what he had previously, which was like ability to take a guy off the dribble, get to the lane, and do something like that. He had special hops. I think what we saw there was a return to some standard hops you would expect a player of his build and athletic ability. And so, I'll be looking to see if what just exactly what he's got left in the tank there. But yeah, good game from him. And then but Lamelo Ball special in this one, 18 points. 4 rebounds, 7 assists. Had some turnover issues, particularly in that second quarter. He had 4 turnovers, 3 personal fouls in that first half. So still some things to work out. We got a question in the chat from Bluebird. Are we worried about Lamelo still kamikaze driving to the basket? I get so scared every time he falls. Are you scared about? I mean, he did. He drove, particularly in the first. I thought in the first quarter, he was looking early for some foul calls, didn't get them, and was falling to the floor. Are you worried about that when you say, does it give you sort of MKG shivers?
Oh God. Well, I think at this point in the game, we're all going to have to either decide not to worry about it or just get comfortable with it because, like, that's what it stood out to me is that I don't think that's he's changing that because he's still trying to get to the rim. Maybe he's learning to fall, maybe brace himself a little. He still, pushes off a guy and it's just the way he goes, man. But yeah, I mean, to answer your question, yes, obviously, like that's terrifying. The first basket, his first basket of the game, everyone is reminiscent of like one where he comes down weird or something weird happens. But so yeah, I don't know. It'd be interesting to know if they're trying to discourage that, or I'm sure they just want him to play his game. But it's constantly scary. Yeah, not doing it in preseason maybe, but that's like telling the racehorse not to run his fastest race. You know what I mean? It's just that's just Lamelo.
That's the thing. Like, if you want to be an elite guard in the NBA, if you want to get into the Luca conversation, into the SGA conversation, you have to drive it a million times. Like, you're gonna have contact, and those guys are able to stay relatively healthy. Lamelo has to do the same thing, and I think you're right. It is about learning to fall, and two, I would say, like, his ankle injuries haven't all come on the drive. I mean, I think back to the one he got in the preseason. It was like he was in the lane and he stepped on a foot against Washington. The very last one he had was just on like he was just dribbling behind his back and something went wonky.
Yeah.
So like I think the braces are more important than him like changing his game. You don't want him to change his game, but it is a good question. I mean, I think you're naturally going to fear it until you don't fear it, until we go through 30, 40, 50 games and he's driving a ton. And I would be more scared if he weren't driving, honestly. But good question. So we got Footy in the chat, Bluebird in the chat, Eric in the chat. What's going on, Topo? If you're watching right now, hit us up in the chat. Give us your questions. So just want to say, every Hornets box. If you're joining us from Locked On Hornets, because I think we're like simulcasting this on YouTube, join up with everyhornetsboxscore.com. David's joined the crew this season. We do game recaps for every game. We're doing these lives. We're doing a podcast. A lot more coverage for the sickos out there this season. So check it out. Eric says, look like we lacked depth. Thoughts? I mean,
At the center, I guess.
well, yeah. I mean, they had 4 injuries coming into this game, 2 of which we knew about, which was Mark Williams and Cody Martin. Both of those were relatively minors. Mark's got a foot thing that he didn't even want to. He probably doesn't want to not play in this game, but they're being precautionary with it. Cody Martin has a laceration on his thumb that he got in training camp when he hit the backboard, which was similar to a Mark injury, hitting the backboard in a game that broke his thumb. But that's not. It doesn't seem like a broken thumb, just a thumb that has an issue. And then the 2 injuries that we didn't know about were Nick Smith Jr., who tweaked a hamstring, or no, tweaked a groin at the end of training camp, and Grant
Yeah.
Williams, who had a little bit of a hamstring issue coming into the game. And both
Yeah.
of those, from all I've heard, are minor injuries. And so, yeah, cascading down, that means there's going to be more time for a certain rookie, Tijan Salon, who got a lot of play in this game.
Age.
Probably TJ Sally probably wouldn't have gotten play in this a lot of play in this game, but he did. What do you think about Tijan Salan. Let me give you the stats here for the game.
Yeah.
11 points, double
Ella.
digit scoring in his first game, 4 of 8 from the field. He hit three three-pointers in this game after missing every single three-point attempt in summer league. Your thoughts on TJ Sally?
Listen, 11 points, but on the scale of, charisma, also an 11 on a scale of 10. I mean, the kid is just pointing to the crowd after one of his last threes, getting them fired up. I wanna talk about, how we talked about the game was maybe a little too fast for him. I saw a little bit of that, but, like, he's got either it's confidence or it's ignorance or he just loves to be out there because like it didn't look overwhelming to him. He didn't look overwhelmed by the
Yeah.
speed of the game. A couple times on defense, yes, he got burned on a back door, and that stuff's going to happen. But hits his first shot, which was a little wonky. Some of the off the dribble, off the bounce moves are going to be clunky, right now. But I mean, man, first of all, you just look at him out there, dude. He's got an NBA body, and he's like 18 or 19 years old, and he looks like a gazelle. If he can, when he adds some weight onto that frame, tightens things up a little bit with his handle and his offensive moves, and learns how to play defense, learns how to use those limbs on defense. I thought he might have a chance for a chase down block on McBride, but the threes. Look, listen, you hit those threes like that come this regular season, then he is going to find his way on the court, not because they just need him to shoot threes, but because I think he can be out there. And he's just a huge body. Like I still think it's going to be time to develop, but like you didn't see any of that in summer league. He loves he loves Charlotte. I can tell he loves the hive. He loves the energy. He's going to feed those fans. He's going to feed those fans, and they're going to feed him right back. I mean, you can't ask for more than that on
No.
opening night.
All right, so listen. He's
Here we
not
go.
he's not timid. I'm gonna tell you that right now. He is not
Timmy,
afraid of the
Timmy,
moment.
Timmy TJ. No, no.
No, no. He caught that first pass on the wing and had no ifs, ands, or buts about it. He was driving that basketball and hit the little half hook there, and I said, "Okay." And then a few plays later, Lamelo in transition throws it to TJ, and I'm telling you, nine
Walked
out of
right
ten
into it.
rookies would have taken that, held it for a second, let everybody come up, and then made the right pass. Tajon pulled up immediately with that thing. He shot that thing, and
And I guarantee earn Lamelo's respect simultaneously.
yeah, right, right, so it goes in. Rapid Sonk is back, and it's in the form of TJ Sally, Tijon Salon. So yeah, it's fun to watch him play. He has an NBA body. You're right. At times, he has no idea what to do with it.
Mhm.
Offensively, I think he has a lot more instincts than I gave him credit for.
Yeah.
Defensively, the instincts, the IQ, the just knowing where to be and what to do, unless he's out on an island. When he's on an island, one on one with somebody, looks good. Every other part of his defensive game, it's all about long arms and big body. That all has to develop. That can't develop in the NBA. If you develop that in the NBA, guess what you do? You lose games. And
Mhm.
he played against a lot of deep reserves because New York went to their bench way sooner than Charlotte went to their
Yeah,
bench in this game.
the whole second half for Tibbs.
So look, 11 points. I'm excited about what TJ showed off, but we have to be realistic about preseason game 1. He had a great first summer league game, and then the summer league games that came after that, he looked like a disaster. So I'm encouraged by what I saw tonight, and I think it shows me that hey, there was some work done between end of summer league to get here. He's going to continue that work. It's going to be in Greensboro, but I'm excited about what it means for him when he does eventually make the roster.
Yeah, I mean, there was a couple times, he just I think it was Payne or maybe Shamet or something out on the perimeter, and he made a pretty decent defensive play just by being as big as he is. Like, he went out to
Yep.
challenge the shot, and he just kinda blocked out the sun, for the smaller player, so, like
I think it was McBride. I think he really
okay.
swallowed up McBride, and that's yeah. I wrote that one down in my notes too. So yeah, so I wrote the issue with Salon is that he has no timing, instincts, or IQ on the defensive end of the floor. And then literally the next note is 4:37 in the third quarter. He does have crazy long arms and active feet. That's the thing. It's not that he's not trying on defense. He's almost trying a little too much. He's getting you for defense in the NBA and like guys that play like 2 or 3 years of college coming to the NBA and they get like flustered by just how much you have to do, how much you have to process, and how quickly you have to process it in the NBA. Because in college, a lot of defense is like just man on man. You're standing around a lot. The ball's moving pretty slowly. Plays are developing pretty slowly. In the NBA, I mean, if you can even get it past the transition phase, and get into a half court set, then there's like 2 or 3 actions after that that are super complex, and if you're just a half step, half second off, these offensive players are going to take advantage of it. But those active feet, like when he's one-on-one, he disrupted McBride's shot, smaller guy who was afraid to take it inside on him. So, yeah, I mean, I just think we should be able, and I'm gonna like really profess this on Locked On Hornets tomorrow if we talk about Salon, which I think we will. We should be able to do two things at once: be excited about what he's going to become, and also be realistic about what he is right now.
Right. Well, you see some of the other rookies having good starts this weekend. Dillingham, I think, had a nice game for Minnesota. So, as a Hornets fan, I think you're just happy to see him come out there. First of all, be able to play, not look completely flummoxed and lost, and make an impact in some areas maybe you didn't think he would. So, yeah, all in all, pretty good for old TJ Sally, and I'm sure the guys in the locker room are happy for him. What else? Anything else stick it out for you, Doug? I think those were my big ones. Oh, Josh Green.
Mhm.
I like what he brings to this team, especially when he can hit those corner threes. But he's giving me big time. Uh, he's almost like their version of Josh Hart because I think you see him running down loose balls. I think he's going to be able to get some rebounds out there for him, and just be that glue guy in that starting five. I think if they can get him, if they can get anybody to be like to take something personal on defense, that'll be a plus. And I think he's my leader in the clubhouse.
Well, yeah, I think like the combination of him and Brandon being intense on the defensive end, you're hoping that that elevates Miles Bridges. You're hoping that that elevates and keeps LaMelo Ball engaged. And Charles Lee talked about what he likes about Josh Green is that Josh Green causes chaos on the defensive end of the floor, but it's like it's kind of good chaos and not like I'm going to gamble every play and like cost my defense a lot. And Josh Green did some of that. I thought early, like there was a play early in the first quarter. I have it down at 6:25. Helps on the OG drive. So he's the what's supposed to be traditionally the MIG, the most important guy, is the low help defender, and that's what he was on this play. And he comes over, stops OG, who had beaten Brandon Miller on the blow by, and gave Miller just a little half second to recover. And so he gets over the top of OG and is able to make the defensive play. But it's just like small things like that. There's going to be a lot of stuff that he doesn't do in the box score, and it's going to be great on nights where LaMelo Ball is, 6 for 14, and how many threes did he get? He was 4 of 10 from three. When Brandon Miller's got it going, like it's going to be great. And then there are going to be nights when LaMelo doesn't have it or Brandon doesn't have it, and you need Josh to have it, and Josh probably ain't going to have it,
Yep.
offensively all the
Well,
time. So
yep.
there's going to be a little bit of give and take there. But I have tempered expectations for what Josh Green is going to be for this team. And so, like, I thought he met those tempered expectations.
Same. Same. On that note, I was thinking, as all those shots were going in, the Hornets on nights when those shots are going in, they're from three and they're feeling good and everybody's in their feeling in their bag. They'll be in games.
Mhm.
I'm still TBD on if they can bring it on the defensive end when they have those off nights. You know what I mean? Like, I like the defense was fine at times. I guess I'll be interested to hear what Charles Lee has to say. But the Knicks made a lot of shots. They let McBride get scorching hot.
Well,
And
hold on.
No?
I don't know what it is about Miles McBride, and you can throw Precious Achua
Oh,
into
yeah.
this conversation as well. Multiple teams that Precious has played for, I think. Miles has, I think, been, or Deuce McBride has been a New York Knick for a while. But like those two, when they play the Hornets, they turn into Jordan and Pippen. Like it is incredible. There's always some like weird stat that EC throws out. Like Precious Achua hasn't hit a three in 3 years until he hit
Yeah.
that one against the Hornets, and he goes 7 of 7 for three. So like,
Yeah.
it's such a, those guys are such outliers when they play the Hornets. I thought that, I thought the defense looked competent most of the way through, engaged all the way through. They allowed New York. What was their? So they allowed New York to score 32 in the second quarter, but I think so much of that was points off of turnovers. I think in the second quarter, New York had 10 points on 5 Hornets turnovers. Okay. So if you cut that in half, then you're talking about what? I mean, a 20, then you're talking about like a 26 point quarter, which is fine. Like you're trying to get them 25, 26 point quarters. In the first quarter, it was 29, but you scored 35. In the third, with some starters, some reserves, it was 26 points. And then the fourth, it was 24. I don't know who's frozen. I don't know if it's David that's frozen or if it's me that's frozen, but I'm still unfrozen. So I'm just going to keep talking. And I want to talk about Brandon Miller because Bluebird. Let us know in the chat who's frozen. Is it me or is it David? If you're even hearing me. Bluebird is saying also Brandon Miller may shoot 45% from three this season. That dude is bad. I mean, his 3 point shooting and how quick it developed was incredible. He was coming off Nick Richards screen after screen and knocking it down. Okay, bam, bam. Thank you, David. We'll get him back. Pretty good frozen. You never know with the frozen screen what it's going to land on. And I think David, he got off pretty scot free here. He's got a stone face. The eye, the what is that? The right eye is a little droopy, but again, you never know. Like you could get like one of these. Host left. It says so. Hopefully, host can get back. I'm glad that this is our first attempt at anything like this. YouTube live, sharing the YouTube live, doing it via phone. All this is very preseason, very experimental for us. But we want to do more of these because it's good for me. Honestly, it lets me like try out a couple of things before I have to go to air for Locked On Hornets, and I love hanging out with you guys too on the chat. So David just texted me, "OMG, my phone crashed." That's the power of the Hornets' offense in this game. It crashed David's phone, and the power of their defense. Honestly, again, I got to watch what Lee says after the game, but I did catch the first like minute or so, and he was so happy. Eric saying, "Would you prefer Hornets to keep first round pick or make the playoffs?" Make the playoffs. Now, I'm not the GM, and I don't know like what secret plans they have to acquire. What dealings that old Jeffy P is already up to, sneaking around trying to get players. They may have some master plan